This is Katie, co-host of Coffee with Keith and Katie. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Madeline, host of Crowned and Dangerous here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come back to check out my show, Crowned and Dangerous, where Jessica and I talk about our time in the pageant world. A new show comes out bi-weekly on Thursdays. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Crowned and Dangerous. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, and welcome to Beauties and Headcanons, where we're nerdy and you probably are too. This week we have a special guest coming to us all the way from the land of YouTube. We have Rob from the channel Retr0Rob. So Rob, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself? Tell us about you and your channel.
Well, I work in IT actually, so it originally started out as a channel where I did Ubuntu demos of little Ubuntu projects you could do. I also did a little bit of VMware on there, and I realized that I'm basically doing enough of this stuff at work. So I changed it into a gaming channel, and now basically the name says it all. I pretty much talk about everything to do with gaming. All generations. I start with retro stuff, but I work all the way up to modern games, although I tend to stay in the indie realm as opposed to major releases.
All right. So what made you even want to start a YouTube channel in the first place? You said you evolved from the initial IT part of it, but what made you even start in the first place?
I was part of a couple of projects online. I was writing for a British website doing reviews, and then I started working for a group called iGame Radio. They were a Mac gaming site.
Oh, okay.
And they started a podcast. Then I started working with another podcast, and then I basically wanted something where I had a little bit more freedom.
Oh, okay.
To do whatever I wanted, and up until then, I'd just done a couple of demos or things on there, and then that grew into a station. Didn't really get serious about it till a couple of years ago.
Okay, well that's a pretty nice start. I see like a lot of YouTubers, especially like YouTubers who get a lot of subscribers. They typically start off like really small, really kind of niche, and just kind of evolve from there. I rarely see it where a YouTuber actually goes and they start a channel and they just become an instant success overnight with something like that. So I think it's really cool to see something that, you've kind of put a lot of time into just kind of grow like it has.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think if you're in it to become huge and make a lot of money, there's not a very good chance of that. When you're I'm at I'm just about to hit, I think, 7,000 subscribers, and that's not very big, but that's like the top 5% of YouTubers out there.
Yeah.
That's how many there are. It's not a statement of how great you are. It's just a statement of how many YouTubers are out there.
Yeah.
There's just lots and lots of them, and they give up. It's not, like I said, if you're thinking you're going to make a full-time living, the odds are pretty much against you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if you're going to have some fun, it's a great place to have some fun and get to say your views and do something creative for a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Kind of like a podcast, just a little bit more visual in nature.
Yep. And, I do work with the Guys, Games, and Beer podcast as well, and that's fun. It's a difficult thing to do.
I'm sure. Now, before we go a little bit further, I just want to kind of come up with a definition here for the rest of the podcast, because your name is Retr0Rob, and a lot of the games that you showcase and talk about are considered retro. But what really defines a retro game? Where is that cutoff that makes a game be considered retro or not?
I operate off of kind of the way the antique people do, and like the Wisconsin Department of Motor Vehicles does.
Okay.
You can get a classic plate in about 20 years.
Okay.
So I consider the classics to be 20 years old or older. I started out on Atari, but I recognize that if you grew up on a Nintendo 64, that's going to be something that's nostalgic for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think that is a pretty good rule of thumb. And I mean, obviously, as the years move on, more and more games and more systems that, even, someone like me considered fairly new, that even that's going to be considered retro in pretty much no time at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even there's some PlayStation 2 stuff that's becoming highly collectible. Mm-hmm. It's always a good time to collect. Right when the prices are starting to fall off. That's like the best time. PlayStation 2 had an unusually long run, so that one might be considered retro later than some. I think the games still look great on it, to be honest. I think they look really good.
Yeah, I personally have never been like a huge person for graphics. I know that there are certain gamers out there who think that, if the graphics aren't just up to a certain level of quality, then the game is just no good. And I've never really thought that about gaming, maybe because one of my favorite games is still a PS2 game. Even in all its blocky graphic glory, I still love the game itself. So, I personally think there's just a lot more to a game than just graphics, and there is even a certain nostalgic quality about those older graphics.
Yeah, there's something to be said about games that you can just get in and get out of. Real simply, I've heard occasionally, that occasional snide hipstery comments that like this game's too old to be relevant. But the reality is, almost all game styles are still here with us. Whether they be on an iPad or your phone or whatever. But those styles are still there, and those are still drawn. Modern games are still drawing ideas from them today. I think both genres are great. I don't really necessarily pick favorites, even though I use the name Retr0Rob. I mean, I play plenty of modern games and think they're great. So I think a good game is a good game, and it holds up over time.
Oh, definitely. So speaking of specifically retro games, what are some quintessential games that you think people might want to play if they want to get this full retro games experience? I know there's probably a vast difference in the different types of games that are out there as far as the retro games can offer. So what do you think people should search for if they're wanting to, play some older games? What should they look out for?
I think there's some systems that are probably better for beginners than others. It's hard to nail it down to some quintessential games, largely because people are so different in what they like, and it really depends on where you want to start. I mean, if you want to get to the brass beginnings of gaming. All Pong machines are the same, and like the Atari 2600 does a lot of the Pong games. So instead of picking up a bunch of different Pong games, now there's going to be some Pong nuts that are going to go nuts about that statement. But I recognize there's differences, but I'm saying for most modern gamers, an Atari 2600 will cover most of your Pong needs and then get you into some early gaming if you're into games that you can just get in and get out of. If you're looking for something deeper, you might want to jump all the way over to maybe Nintendo games. There's a lot of things called Famiclones, which have like hundreds of Nintendo games on them for like $30-$40 that you can try out. Oh, wow. And some of them tend to have pretty decent controls. I mean, handheld emulation devices have made retro gaming so much easier for the average person to try out, whereas you used to spend a bunch of money getting each one of these systems. I still buy them. A lot of people argue that the best way to play any game is on the original system, and I think that's true, but I think that you can get a much wider variety through these emulation systems and learn a lot more. It's so hard to nail down games, though. I mean, because everybody's going to say Mario.
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta do Super
Well,
Mario.
yeah, of course.
That's an absolute classic.
Of course.
I think on the Atari, a couple of them on the Atari 2600 even that are just classics. I think Spider Fighter is one of the first really great shooters, although some people disagree with that one. For sure. There's definitely other favorites that are out there. Nintendo has really ruled the roost as far as having some really original games. I think playing games on the Sega Dreamcast is another great system to grab. I think that it was probably the last and best game system of the arcade era. So if you want to relive the arcade era, you want a Dreamcast. I mean, it just had great forethought. In fact, the board for that was actually used in arcade games, so it's really the same board.
Okay, so it's basically just made into a more homemade device instead of having to go out to the arcade.
I think they went the other way with it. I think they made that chipset. I can't remember what the order is, but it was an actual arcade set, so it would play pretty much the same games. A company called Neo Geo did the same thing. They made games like Metal Slug, which absolutely must be played by anybody, anywhere, in my opinion. And that game system was prohibitively expensive in its day, but now you can get a handheld that emulates it for like $40-$50, and it'll do a fairly decent job. And that's definitely something that would have cost you a whole lot back in the day, but now you can play all these amazing Neo Geo games. And they were another one of those end of the arcade era game systems. And if you're into RPGs, obviously there's dozens of great ones. RPGs are just there's just so much there. It's hard to even go.
I know
to even get going on them.
I know everybody wants to talk about Chrono Trigger.
Yep, it's really good.
I've never played it, but everybody keeps talking about, oh, it's just the best. You have to play it, and I've never. I love RPGs, but I've never gotten a chance to play it yet.
I think it's pretty reasonably priced. I think can't you get it on the? Didn't they release it on the iPad now? I think they did. I know they did the Final Fantasy remakes came out on handhelds. I'm really big on keeping it affordable for people because it's one of the big entry points. Big entry point problems for people, and there's the community. It's a really nice community, but there's some attitude there.
Oh yeah,
that kind of gets around, and I try to stay out of that.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think that's pretty par for the course for just about any geek community. Is there is this elite strand to it where you have to have been there from the beginning and experienced this in this way, or else, you're not a true geek, or something like that.
Yeah. They call it gate holding or whatever. Or
yes,
gatekeeping.
Yes,
gatekeeping.
Yes.
That's a big thing, and it's when people feel like, well, this was my thing, and now everybody's into it. That happens. I mean, it's an understandable feeling. I don't agree with it, but it's an understandable feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of gatekeeping. So.
Well, neither am I. Neither am I. So I do, and I understand that, some things might have felt a little bit more niche and, spoke to you as a child, but, it's okay for other people to also like those things too. Maybe a little bit more en masse these days than before, but, that's the way it is. Maybe it really is that good,
It's probably the best time to be a retro gamer. A friend of mine, Tom for the Guys, Games, and Beer podcast, he always says that this is the best time to be a retro gamer because so much is being done with the old hardware, like things like multi-carts that make it a little bit easier to get games you couldn't afford otherwise. They're, just recently they've started making Genesis controllers again and Sega Saturn controllers again, which is just insane. They basically, Sega contracted those controllers out, and I think it's Retro-Bit is making legitimate, actual, OEM controllers for it again. I mean, they're not really OEM, but they're built just like the originals. And I've played on both. I've got a few of them now, and they're every bit as good as the originals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and if you have a computer, I mean, obviously you have a lot more freedom, I think, when you get, like, a computer-based emulator, because I actually have one on my Mac. It's called Boxer, and with that, I can run the original Doom and play that on my computer. And
Which is pretty cool.
I know, right? I have this site that I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's saved under my one tabs in Chrome, but it's a site where it has all kinds of older games for either free or really, really cheap and reduced prices, where you can just go in and just download them and play them with an emulator, and it's like it's huge. I'm like, why wouldn't you go and use this listing if you really want to play these older games?
I think there's a Doom on Everything website, as I recall.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I hate saying stuff like that because I'm always wrong. It might be just like a Reddit thread and not a website. But they're trying to, they want Doom to run on everything, which is, it should.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's understandable, definitely. But yeah, so that's kind of most of my experience with retro gaming. I have my little emulator that I play on, and I do have, I can't remember what it's called. You probably know what it is, but it plays all the different cartridges.
Retron?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the 5 does a whole lot of them.
Yeah, so I have a few different cartridges, mostly like Super Mario and stuff like that I can play that on.
Yeah, and it upscales them, right? It's built in. They're pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's really nice, and I can use like a regular older controller to just play it on and everything, and it's awesome. You just hook it into the TV, and you don't have to worry about all this
cables everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I've got cables everywhere. I keep it all in one room now, but there's still cables everywhere.
Yeah, so I guess that would be one disadvantage to retro gaming. Maybe.
Yeah, if you are doing it in the colloquial sense, mm-hmm. where you're getting every system, it's a mess. I show my room pretty regularly on my YouTube station, and it's a little outrageous. And most of my friends, I blame actually pretty much all my friends for it getting this bad. Like, that way I don't have to accept what I've done.
Sure, of course.
But it's basically a bunch of shelves with gaming systems on it, and a little too much Atari, I think.
Oh, maybe, but that's okay. I have seen pictures of gamers who have like a gaming room and they have all these systems lined up, and I can tell which ones actually use their systems and which ones don't based on how neat it all is. If it's super neat and pristine, I'm like, okay, they're a collector, but I don't see them actually playing with all of these things. But if it's kind of messy and there's cables going everywhere, I'm like, okay, they actually are playing all of the stuff that they have.
Yeah, you'd probably assume then that I'm playing mine, because
yep.
It's got junk everywhere. It's horrible. Horrible. I keep trying to clean it, though, every once in a while. I clear stuff out, because I don't want to become a hoarder, which I think is a serious problem in video gaming. There's this video gaming hoarding. It's not healthy. So I do get rid of things on a regular basis, but I keep like the core stuff and my favorite stuff around. But that's still, I don't know how many systems are in here, but it's a lot. There's a video on it, so you can just watch the video.
What would you say is your favorite system to play on?
Yeah, hard. It's hard to pick favorites. I always have a rough time with this. You know, do you pick something rare? Do you pick? You know, I'm gonna probably go with like the Atari 7800, even though I think there's lots of great systems. I probably spend the most time with the 7800 because it runs the 2600 stuff,
Okay.
and it runs the much better 7800 stuff. Atari is very primitive, and I don't always have a lot of time. I've got a pretty demanding career, and I've got a pretty demanding life. So I don't really have as much time as I'd like to do this stuff, and between the YouTube recording too. So Atari is a really great way to unwind and be able to do it in a short period of time. Plus, it's a darn pretty system. If you've ever seen one, my goodness.
Oh yeah, I can
It's a
understand
good-looking
that. I've been playing a lot of. I just got for my birthday. I got Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, and I love the games. Those and Inquisition, I absolutely love them. But there are so many cutscenes. Like, I mean, you could just sit there just for like 10 minutes straight, and it's just a cutscene, and you can't skip it. So you have to just sit there and watch the same cutscene over and over and over, and it's like, okay. Yeah, I can definitely see the appeal of being able to just basically plug it in and play it, and then you're done,
I Twitter complained that a while back, that I'm playing this game and it's still... I've been playing this a half hour and I've only pressed A 4 or 5 times. That's all I've done. And that's, there is like a place for storytelling. So I don't want it to come off like there isn't. It's just, it's just a time constraint thing for me. If I had the time, I'd totally be into JRPGs, which is the thing I would accuse doing that most. Obviously, they're insane sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the games. Obviously I wouldn't have bought them and I wouldn't play them if I didn't, but it just, there does get a point where it's just like, okay, could I at least like get a skip button for this?
Whose story is this exactly? Yeah. Is this a movie or is this a game?
Exactly.
And there's a place for all kinds. That's kind of the nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another great thing about being a gamer today is you can basically pick a genre and stick with it. You can find something that you're going to like. For sure.
Oh yeah, whether you're more casual or whether you really want to sit down and dig into the meat of something.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's like all sorts of... I've been in a roguelike and roguelite thing for quite a while now, too. And it's been just crazy how that particular genre has taken off. You can anything you want in the roguelike and roguelite genre is there for you. You want a dual stick shooter? Done. You want Space Invaders as a roguelite? Yeah, it's done. You want a classic turn-based roguelike? Yeah, it's done. It's got like a million choices in each direction, no matter what you want to do.
Oh, nice.
So it's a great, and that's just such a bizarre genre to have that much expansion going on in it. Because it sat there for a very long time, doing nothing, until a few years ago. There was Rogue, and there was like a couple other procedurally generated games, and then all of a sudden, it just went crazy.
Yeah, I think that's how it is a lot of times, where things come out and not a whole lot of fuss is made about it, and then all of a sudden, suddenly, somehow a spark is struck somewhere, and it just takes off, and there isn't always an explanation for it.
Yep. Except they just finally realized it was cool.
Yep.
It took them from the 70s, I think, when the first Rogue came out, until 2000 something.
Sometimes it takes a while, I guess.
Yeah, that is true. Sometimes it does. Who knows what makes them simmer?
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's just the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Doom's kind of had a comeback too with the remake doing so well. It's called Doom. I mean,
Well, yeah.
they just called it Doom again. But
The reboot.
I thought the reboot was really excellent. But it's also spawned a bunch of Doom-alikes as well.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you want a Doom-like game, there's a lot coming out.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
They're everywhere. I haven't played the new Doom, mostly because I'm mad because it has pushed production back of Elder Scrolls 6, and so I'm like, nope. Mm-mm.
It's so good though. It's like the best thing for like if you've been gaming for a long time, or if you were there when Doom originally came out, and you watched as the first person shooter had more and more crazy crap added to it, coming back to kind of a pure shooter thing is just such a breath of fresh air. It's not that I love Call of Duty. We play it like almost every day, Love the game. But, every once in a while you just want to get in there and shoot the crap out of stuff without having to think too much. And that new Doom really just captured that fully.
Maybe
Beautiful
if it goes
game.
on sale. Maybe.
Yeah, it goes every once in a while, doesn't it? Can't be as expensive as it was.
Well, you know how Bethesda does like to price gouge now and then.
Yeah. They like to release incomplete games too, but we're not going to go into that too
Yeah,
much.
that would be a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to the Bethesda hating podcast, where we talk about everything Bethesda that we hate.
Yeah, I actually did one for Fallout 76 back in December, I think. December or January. Talking about the whole 76 debacle, and that was very interesting.
That was a rough launch.
Oh, and I actually had to delay recording it twice because of new things coming out, and I'm like, okay, Bethesda, can you please just stop now? I want to record this.
There's a Retr0Rob. I was just looking on their site because I to see what they had to say. They don't even. Wow. Yeah, Fallout 76 isn't even mentioned on their page right now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. They like to kind of scrub the bad.
Yeah, they do. They're all on the Rage 2, though, so hopefully that'll...
Yeah, that's the next big thing that's coming out, and hopefully it will do good, and Starfield, I think, is slated to come out next, and then after that, Elder Scrolls 6, and hopefully they can get their act together by then.
It would be extra excellent. I have high hopes for Rage 2. I was one of the 5 people that loved Rage, so... There was only a few of us, but I was one of them.
Now, speaking of a retro game that is now firmly in the modern era, that has had a new release recently, have you had a chance to play Mortal Kombat 11?
No. I get Mortal Kombat when it goes on sale. Believe it or not, I have a Mortal Kombat arcade controller.
Ooh.
For the Xbox, I think, and PlayStation 2. Big monster. You can actually open it up and look at its guts.
Oh, wow.
It's got like a little gold thing. And I was a Street Fighter guy. But I did buy the last one when it went on sale, and I thought it was pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you did like MKX, you'll probably like MK11. Once it goes on sale, you go ahead and snatch it up there, because I am not great at Mortal Kombat, or really any fighting games. I enjoy them. I'm not good at them. but I enjoy them, and I've really been enjoying this one, so definitely think it's worth people checking out.
I'm just looking to see, did I do a video on Mortal Kombat? I might have. I did!
It's only,
That's hilarious.
I mean, it's only one of the most classic arcade games, the one that actually forced the rating system.
Mortal Kombat Complete. I did a video on. Don't remember anything about it, I'm afraid. A darn thing. Huh. There's something to complain about, let me tell you. YouTube frequency. If you're doing a video every 2 days and somebody asks you about something you did like 3 weeks ago, forget it.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's all out of my head.
Yeah, you just shove all that knowledge into your head just for the video, and then as soon as that recording's done, it's like, okay, gone.
Yeah, awful. And I'm probably wrong when I'm doing it, too. I mean, there's a good chance. There's a good chance that it's wrong. Huh. Yeah. We'll be darned. I'm always surprised when I could have swore I did a video on that, and sure enough I did. I'm as surprised as anybody else is. Something came up on the side why button mashing doesn't work. Well, yeah.
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 See, I'm a button masher, so that explains a lot, really. I should probably watch that video.
I usually am a button masher. I am trying to get better. And at least in MK11, I found that some of the characters have certain combos that I can execute really well and with a pretty accurate, with a pretty good rate of accuracy. So that helps. It really helps.
I can pull off absolutely no special moves in any game. If I win, it is because I timed things well and avoided.
And also
I can
luck.
block like a champ.
Oh, see, that's the thing. Like, I always forget how to block. And so that's why I always go in with high pressure, because I'm like, well, if I can just go ahead and knock them out really quickly, I don't need to block then, right?
That's true, if you can, yeah.
Yeah.
I could not. I just get pulverized for a while, and then I hopefully get lucky. It's my play style. It's too bad they don't have a, scream and run away move. I'd memorize that one.
Well, it is funny in the, if you play Mortal Kombat 11 online, and you rage quit, your opponent actually gets what's called a quitality, and your character will just explode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that is kind of a move.
That actually should be in every game. I think that is something that should carry over in every... Like Call of Duty, wouldn't it be way more satisfying?
Oh,
You know how they just disappear?
Yes.
Instead, they explode. That would be awesome. That's good gaming right there. Developers, if you're listening, throw that in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for the few little missteps that NetherRealm has had, overall, I think they're probably one of the most solid gaming companies out there. I mean, for giving people, a good, solid game and what people want and quality content in a game that is not buggy as all get out.
So you're saying they're not Capcom?
Yes, exactly. The opposite of...
Capcom is, Capcom has difficulties. I mean, they're good. They're a great game company, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, they either, launch it into space or they explode on the ground. There's no flying in the middle. There's no just going down the middle for them. They're something else. I can't say I'd do any better.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be a sideline coach here, but,
Yeah.
we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. We can guess, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Fortunately, they usually will do a developer's blog, years later, that'll tell you what a horror show it was.
Oh, yeah. Or they'll do, some podcast or, give an interview or something. Then we'll all know the real story.
Yeah, there's a few YouTubers out there that do, that's what they do. They talk about how the teams fell apart or what went wrong with this game or another. I'm trying to remember the name of that one, too. There's a couple of them that do really, really good jobs at it. Mm-hmm. Worth watching.
I'm waiting for the Fallout 76 one.
I just saw one on Fallout 76.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see. It should be in my history, but... Should be. But I got a lot of history when I look at it. Studio. Yeah. I'm not going to find it. It's not going to happen.
It's okay. I'll search for it later.
Yeah. But it was really good. It was very enjoyable.
Oh. I will have to try and Google that. My Google Foo is usually pretty strong, so I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah, well worth it. I've been watching a lot of failures lately.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Agreed.
Lindsay, are you still here? I haven't heard any.
Yeah, I am. I just feel sort of like I was.
Okay.
Butting
yeah, I heard a
in
couple
an
squeaks
intimate
out of you.
conversation, just kind of like listening to you guys.
I didn't know because it had like the little dots, and I was like, "Wait, is she disconnected or is she disconnecting? Like, what's going on?" I know.
Yes, we're growing in numbers.
No, I'm here, just listening. So yeah, I mean, obviously you guys have probably already talked on a few things here, but no one really said anything about Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, and that was something that I like really enjoyed when I was growing up. That was like the only retro game that I can actually say I played. I mean, more than anything else, I remember playing it on a computer system, and I had an emulator for Nintendo, so it was like an NSES, SNES emulator, and we would play.
It's on Steam now.
That game.
Yep, I just looked it up.
And with the walkthroughs and everything until we were able to really win and to get against the bosses, and we had like parties where that's all we ended up doing. I feel like that's something that I would really enjoy trying to get my daughter into too, because I just loved the storyline of that game. And you guys were talking earlier about even the cutscenes, and the graphics in the cutscenes were always my favorite.
Good luck getting them off the phone.
So that's probably why I've been so quiet,
like
is I just didn't want to intrude on this camaraderie you guys were having. I absolutely loved the video scenes where you learned a little bit more about their backstory and what was going on. I wonder what, how I would even get on.
I think a lot of them are on there now, aren't they? I know Android. I used to do Android handhelds, and those are amazing. And they're basically just a phone in a different shell, so same guts.
Oh,
same guts.
Okay. Well, and that's just it too. Is I think my daughter would really get anything to get her off of this phone. I don't know if the gaming system would really be that much better.
Came up with,
you know, she's always got her head on her phone. Even today, she was
even the ones that you gave me, I
just being on her phone when she was crossing a busy street. So I'd love to get her off of that.
The only bad answer is no answer.
Oh yeah, just like the only bad question is the question you don't ask.
Yes,
that's true. Although, yeah, there are probably pretty bad. There are no stupid questions, just my stupid answers.
Okay, so Rob, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm pretty straight.
Okay, so I know that you also have 2 YouTube channels. Then you have Retr0Rob, where you talk about the games, and then there's also another one that you do with the guys, the channel that you do with the guys, games, and beer.
There's, yeah, it's mostly meant to be kind of it's kind of a mix between comedy, really weird, and then just gaming. That's a pretty experimental type of thing. I see stuff like I watch other YouTubers that are totally like nothing to do with gaming. And I'd like kind of try to fuse their style with.
I did watch a few of your YouTube videos, and I was really impressed with how you were able to edit everything in and to have your background music. It was really enjoyable to watch, even for someone who doesn't really.
Probably not. I probably won't
do any gaming. So
I live stream every once in a great while. I'm not the best live streamer on earth. Largely, any video you watch of mine, it took amazing amounts of takes. I was showing, I think I did a video where, it was just a few ago, where I actually took like 6 takes and just basically squashed them together and had them all like run for part of the video. It was pretty good. So I literally, like, any one of my videos is made out of a minimum of 30 files, 30 recordings. It's ridiculous.
I can feel that. I can feel that. I get tongue-tied pretty easily.
Yeah, right. Go.
As
like
Lindsay knows.
Oh. Editing magic.
If you watch my early stuff, it was really long. Very long. You can't tell it. I drone on. You can't tell, can you? No,
Very
but
cool.
I've really, over the last couple of years, tried to edit it down to be more concise, and that causes a lot of spare B-roll stuff going on.
All kinds of B-roll.
Yeah. Funny thing is, on the Guys, Games, and Beer podcast, is I used to edit a friend of mine so that he always didn't make sense, really. I purposely, like, modify his editings. He'd just make comments out of the blue. It was awesome.
Vic, you better not do that to us.
It's some funny stuff. Guys, Games, and Beer is mostly, like, about doing live shows. The fact that we do a live stream on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, it's really just kind of a side thing to the live stuff we do. You know, we show up at Midwest Gaming Classic and things like that. It's an odd show. It's not, it's really just us unwinding. That's all it is. Everybody there, everybody in our group works in IT or works in something that's fairly high pressure, and that is just a big get it out type of. It's just us talking. It literally is not organized in any way, shape, or form. There's supposedly a topic, but
somewhere
it doesn't. It may or may not get talked to. It's been on for 6 years. I mean, and it's got crosstalk. It's got all the worst things that you could ever have. But it is fun every time, and that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, but that's really cool then to be able to unwind.
Yep,
it is. Yep. Go in for the fun. Don't go in for the money or the glory.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just have fun.
Yeah. For the bribery.
Yeah, all the best things about live streaming, and then like just hanging with your friends.
Not really. I mean, you can check out my station, www.youtube.com/Guys, Games, and Beer. We're supposed to call them channels now. Sorry. It's like they're not stations anymore. Sorry, they're channels now. It's a channel. Or a chasin. I don't know. A chasin, I think. That sounds like a small couch. A small couch. Yes, it's a small couch. But anyway, yeah, it's one of those things, and it's kind of strange.
Good chase lounge.
I kind of like it. Yeah.
Okay, so I did want to say thank you so much, Rob, for coming on Beauties and Headcanons today.
Yep, thank you very much for having me on.
Okay, so I just want to one more time say thank you so much, Rob, for coming on the podcast with us and talking with us today, and for getting nerdy about retro gaming. Let us know if there's anything that you guys really enjoyed about what Rob had to say today about his YouTube channels. And then also let us know what your favorite retro game is, or anything that you would love to share with us on Instagram or on our Facebook, Beauties and Headcanons. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Elizabeth, and thanks for getting nerdy with us today on Beauties and Headcanons.